They thought they could humiliate me, walk all over me, and get away with it, but they had no idea who they were truly dealing with. What they didn't know was that their carefully constructed world was about to crumble, piece by painful piece, right before their very eyes, and I would be the one holding the hammer. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. My name is Donna Johnson, and for 60 years, I had lived a life that many would describe as unremarkable, even humble. I was a single mother in Sacramento, California, and for the outside world, my existence was defined by hard work, thriftiness, and an unwavering devotion to my son, Danny. What no one knew, not even Danny, was that beneath the surface of my modest apartment in Sensible Wardrobe, I had been quietly building an empire. It started 8 years ago, after my divorce left me with little more than a small settlement and a fierce determination to never be financially vulnerable again. I took $10,000 from my emergency fund, a sum that felt enormous at the time, and began to teach myself everything I could about investments. I worked 3 jobs, nursing during the day, tutoring high school kids in the evenings, and freelance editing on weekends. Every spare moment, every spare dollar, went into learning, researching, and investing. I pored over market reports, devoured financial books, and followed economic trends with the precision of a seasoned analyst. My resourceful jobs, as I called them, actually gave me unique insights into various industries, which I leveraged for strategic investments. It was a secret life, a quiet ambition, fueled by the desire to provide Danny with a future he deserved, and to secure my own independence. Over those 8 years, that initial $10,000 had grown not just into a substantial nest egg, but into a multi-million-dollar investment portfolio. I was a millionaire, a self-made woman, and no one suspected a thing. My son Danny was my world. He was a bright, kind, and intelligent young man, studying engineering at a local university. His passion was for building, for creating, and I had always supported him wholeheartedly. So when he came to me, beaming, to tell me he had met someone, a young woman named Melissa Hartford, I was thrilled for him. Melissa seemed charming enough at first, though a little intense. Her family, the Hartfords, were wealthy, prominent in Sacramento's business circles. I met them for the first time at an engagement dinner Danny and Melissa hosted. Charles Hartford, Melissa's father, was a slick, self-important man, always adjusting his expensive tie. Patricia, her mother, was equally snobbish, her eyes scanning the room, seemingly evaluating everyone's net worth. From that first meeting, I felt a subtle condescension from them. My modest background was a topic of polite but pointed discussion, my occupation as a nurse seemingly beneath their notice. I simply smiled, nodded, and listened, observing everything. They never once asked about my interests, my life, or my true contributions to the world. They simply saw a 60-year-old single mother, a relic of a bygone era perhaps, someone to be tolerated for Danny's sake. The real turning point, the incident that ignited the fire within me, happened at Thanksgiving dinner that year, hosted at the Hartfords' sprawling, ostentatious mansion. The table was laden with food, but the conversation was heavier still, laced with their veiled insults. Melissa, her face flushed with wine and self-importance, was holding court about her demanding job as Director of Marketing at Precision Hospitality Solutions, a mid-sized hotel management company. She rattled off industry jargon she barely understood, while her parents nodded along, reinforcing her perceived brilliance. At some point, the conversation drifted to investments. I made a quiet comment, perhaps too quiet, about the current market trends, something I had been closely following. Melissa, with a dismissive wave of her hand, actually chuckled. "Oh, Donna, honey," she cooed. "I'm sure that's all very complicated. Dad handles all our investments, don't you, Daddy? It's really not something for everyone to worry their heads about." Her father, Charles, chimed in with a condescending smirk. "Indeed, Donna. Some things are best left to the professionals. Stick to what you know, dear." Patricia, Melissa's mother, then added, "Yes, Donna, you must have enough on your plate just trying to manage things, I imagine. Investments are a whole different ballgame. The casual cruelty of it, the outright dismissal, the smug superiority in their eyes, it hit me like a physical blow. They truly believed I was an ignorant, old woman, incapable of understanding anything beyond my nursing shifts. They thought I was beneath them, a charity case their son-in-law was bringing into their perfect family. But what they didn't know was that I had been researching Precision Hospitality Solutions for months, long before this dinner. I knew it was ripe for acquisition, and I knew its current management, particularly the marketing department under Melissa, was bleeding money. That night, something inside me snapped. The quiet, unassuming Donna was gone. In her place was a woman with a plan, a cold resolve. I had spent 8 years building my wealth in secret, but it was time to wield it. It was time for justice. My transformation from a silent observer to a calculated strategist was swift and decisive. I had always been meticulous, tracking my investments in detailed spreadsheets and notebooks, but now that discipline was directed towards a different goal. The first thing I did was call Marcus Webb, a business broker I had been discreetly consulting. "Marcus," I said, my voice steady, "I'm ready to move forward with Precision Hospitality Solutions, full acquisition." He was surprised by my sudden conviction, but I simply told him I have found compelling reasons to act now. Next, I contacted Sarah Chen, a sharp corporate attorney I'd retained on several occasions for previous, smaller acquisitions. "Sarah," I explained, "I need to ensure ironclad legal structures for this purchase, and I need a comprehensive due diligence report, not just on the company, but on its key employees and their families. Every detail, no matter how small, every financial tie, every public record." I also brought in Michael Torres, a brilliant business consultant who specialized in turning around underperforming companies. Michael's initial assessment confirmed my suspicions. Melissa Hartford, as director of marketing, was an unmitigated disaster. Marketing costs had skyrocketed by 400% under her tenure, yet customer acquisition had actually decreased. Her entire strategy seemed to be based on flashy, expensive campaigns that yielded no tangible results, clearly driven by ego rather than expertise. Her position, as I suspected, was purely a result of family connections. The due diligence Sarah orchestrated was exhaustive, reaching far beyond standard corporate checks. It was during this phase that the first truly damning piece of information emerged. Charles Hartford, Melissa's esteemed father, wasn't as squeaky clean as he pretended to be. My team uncovered an informal but active SEC investigation into his investment firm, Hartford Capital Management, for alleged securities fraud, client account manipulation, and conspiracy to defraud investors. He was good at hiding it, but I had resources and motivation far beyond what he could have imagined. This revelation didn't just solidify my resolve, it gave me an entirely new weapon. I quietly opened new corporate accounts, set up the necessary legal entities, and, with Marcus Webb's expert guidance, began the acquisition process. It was like watching a perfectly choreographed ballet, every move precise and deliberate. The negotiation took several weeks, but my team, armed with my extensive financial backing and my own strategic insights, ensured a favorable deal. The current owners, tired of the company's stagnant performance, were eager to sell. I signed the papers, becoming the sole owner of Precision Hospitality Solutions, the very company where Melissa Hartford proudly held her undeserved title. The day I walked into the corporate headquarters of Precision Hospitality Solutions as its new owner was surreal. I had arranged a full management meeting, instructing the interim general manager James Peterson to ensure all department heads were present, especially Melissa Hartford. I dressed impeccably, a sharp business suit replacing my usual modest attire, my silver hair styled, my gaze firm. I walked into the boardroom, where Melissa sat at the head of the table, looking bored and entitled, flanked by the rest of the management team. There was a buzz of anticipation in the room. Everyone knew a new owner was taking over, but my identity had been kept under wraps until that moment. I stood at the podium, a calm smile on my face. "Good morning, everyone," I began, my voice clear and steady. "My name is Donna Johnson, and I am the new owner of Precision Hospitality Solutions." The collective gasp in the room was almost audible. Melissa's eyes, wide with shock, met mine. Her face went from confident to utterly bewildered in an instant. The other managers shifted nervously, trying to process the revelation. I allowed a moment for the news to sink in before continuing. Before we discuss the future, I want to hear about the present. Melissa, I said, turning my gaze to her, I believe you have a presentation for us on the marketing department's performance and upcoming strategies. Melissa, still visibly shaken, stumbled through a convoluted presentation, full of buzzwords and grand promises, but devoid of any real data or coherent plan. She talked about synergy and brand amplification, but couldn't explain why marketing costs were through the roof while customer engagement had plummeted. It was exactly as Michael Torres had predicted. All fluff, no substance. When she finally finished, looking expectantly at me, I stepped back to the podium. "Thank you, Melissa," I said, my tone cool and professional. "Now, let's look at the numbers, shall we?" I brought up a slide, prepared by Michael Torres and James Peterson. It starkly displayed the disastrous performance of her department, a 400% increase in marketing expenditure, directly correlating with a 20% decrease in new customer acquisition. I systematically broke down every single one of her strategies, exposing them for the expensive failures they were. I pointed out the lack of measurable ROI, the missed targets, the squandered budget. Melissa tried to interrupt, to make excuses, her face paling with each damning statistic. "This is not fair, Donna. You don't understand the market," she cried, her voice rising. I held up a hand. "On the contrary, Melissa, I understand it perfectly. What I understand is gross mismanagement. What I understand is professional incompetence. And what I understand is that, under your direction, the marketing department has been a financial black hole. Precision Hospitality Solutions requires leadership that is both competent and accountable." I paused, letting my words hang in the air. "Melissa, effective immediately, your employment with Precision Hospitality Solutions is terminated. James Peterson, you will take over as interim director of marketing, and Michael Torres will work with you to restructure the department." The room was silent. Melissa looked utterly devastated, her mouth agape. She grabbed her purse and stormed out, sputtering about personal vendettas and unfair treatment. I simply watched her go, a quiet sense of satisfaction settling in my chest. This wasn't revenge, this was justice. This was holding someone accountable for their failures, regardless of their family name. The phone call came that afternoon, as expected. It was Charles Hartford, his voice thick with fury. "Donna Johnson, what in God's name do you think you're doing? Firing my daughter? Are you out of your mind? This is a personal vendetta, pure and simple. You'll be hearing from my lawyers. Believe me, I'll sue you for wrongful termination, for fraud, for everything you have. You'll regret this, you old hag." I took a deep breath, my voice as calm as a placid lake. "Charles," I said, "I assure you this is a business decision, based solely on Melissa's demonstrably poor performance. As for your threats, I suggest you reconsider. You see, during my acquisition due diligence, my team uncovered some rather interesting information about Hartford Capital Management. Specifically, your firm's ongoing informal SEC investigation for securities fraud, client account manipulation, and conspiracy to defraud investors." There was a stunned silence on the other end of the line. I continued, "I have detailed reports, sworn affidavits, and a very eager SEC contact who would be delighted to turn that informal investigation into a very formal, very public federal case. Now you can pursue your baseless lawsuit against me, and I will, in turn, make sure your criminal enterprise is exposed to the world, resulting in federal charges, the dismantling of your firm, and the complete destruction of your reputation. Or you can withdraw your threats, and we can all move on with our lives, albeit in very different directions. The choice, Charles, is entirely yours." The line went dead. The fallout was swift and devastating, as I knew it would be. Charles Hartford, faced with the absolute certainty of his own financial fraud being exposed, folded like a house of cards. His lawsuit against me never materialized. Instead, the informal SEC investigation rapidly escalated. Within weeks, federal charges were filed. Hartford Capital Management was shut down, its assets frozen. Charles Hartford, the arrogant titan of industry, found himself facing a long list of criminal charges, his carefully constructed empire crumbling around him. Patricia Hartford, his snobbish wife, wasted no time. She filed for divorce, prioritizing her own substantial assets and distancing herself from her husband's impending ruin. Melissa, stripped of her job, her family's protection, and her father's influence, was utterly adrift. Without the Hartford name to prop her up, she was truly on her own for the first time in her life. I heard through the grapevine that she eventually found work at a local fast food restaurant, a minimum wage job, a stark contrast to her former life of unearned privilege. Her marriage to Danny, already strained by her entitlement and her family's actions, could not withstand the pressure. They divorced, a quiet affair, unburdened by the drama that had surrounded their engagement. Danny, my son, had a front-row seat to the entire saga. He saw the Hartfords' true colors, their greed, their cruelty, and their ultimate downfall. It was a harsh lesson for him, but an invaluable one. He was initially shocked by my revelation, by my secret life as a powerful investor. We had a long, heartfelt conversation where I explained why I had kept it hidden, my desire to protect him, to secure our future, and to live authentically on my own terms. He was amazed, proud, and in time he understood. He learned the true value of integrity, hard work, and resilience from my example. He redoubled his efforts in his engineering studies, graduating with honors. Inspired by my journey, he secured a prestigious engineering job with a renewable energy company, building a life based on his own merit and passion. My life, too, was transformed. Precision Hospitality Solutions, under my leadership and with the competent team of James Peterson and Michael Torres, flourished. I became a celebrated, inspiring CEO, expanding the business with strategic acquisitions and ethical practices. The quiet investor was now a public figure, a testament to the power of underestimation and the triumph of hard work. I bought a beautiful villa by the sea, a place of peace and tranquility, where I could enjoy the fruits of my labor, reflect on my journey, and continue to build my legacy. Justice, I learned, wasn't about gleeful revenge. It was about balance, about restoring what was taken, and about reclaiming one's self-respect. It was about showing the world that true power doesn't come from inherited privilege or manipulative tactics, but from a quiet strength, an unwavering determination, and a fierce commitment to integrity. My story became a testament to what an underestimated woman can achieve when pushed to her limits, reminding everyone that sometimes the quiet ones are the ones you should truly fear. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.